Pride Month is a celebration of the LGBTQIA+ community in all its forms. It's a time to make a statement, highlight show-stopping creativity, and fierce talent. It's a party. It's also...
Pride is about resistance. Pride is about a fight.
A riot, more like it. That's how the first Pride really began. In June 1969, police raided the Stonewall Inn, a not-so-underground gay bar in New York City. Raids like this happened all the time, but on that June night in '69, people turned the Stonewall raid into a riot, which turned into a gay rights revolution. In the decades since, the fight, the riot for equality, hasn't stopped in America, or in Arkansas, especially when it comes to the legal right to marry who you love.
The THV 10 o'clock difference with tonight's big story, Your Vote, 2004.
Election night in Arkansas, 2004. The natural state goes red for George W. Bush, helping elect him to his second term in the White House. And like many other states that year, Arkansas asked voters to define marriage.
Marriage in Arkansas ought to be a man and a woman, and that's what the people have affirmed this evening.
We adopted a ban on same-sex marriage into the Arkansas Constitution in 2004 as part of that trend.
Fast forward to 2013, when the U.S. Supreme Court struck down part of the Defense of Marriage Act, the 1996 federal law that banned same-sex marriage. A move that UA Little Rock professor of law Joshua Silverstein says got the ball rolling everywhere.
There was just an avalanche of litigation with the vast majority of courts around the country ruling that same-sex marriage was protected.
A year later in Arkansas, Pulaski County Circuit Court Judge Chris Piazza, amid lawsuits from local couples, ruled against the state's ban, calling it unconstitutional. And for the next 8 days, while the legal debates raged, the race to get married was on. County courthouses flooded with same-sex couples, not wanting to miss the chance to secure a legal marriage license, worried the window would close once again. But then on June 26, 2015, the fight at the state level became moot. In Obergefell v. Hodges, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the right to marry is guaranteed to same-sex couples under the Constitution.
When all Americans are treated as equal, we are all more free.
Stand up, fight back!
Back to the present, where Pride Month brought hundreds of people out to Little Rock's Soma neighborhood in early June, including newlyweds Whitney Butler and Victoria Capek.
We felt a little fearful of what was going to happen.
As fiancés, they'd planned a small wedding ceremony for May. But months before, on the heels of the 2024 presidential election, Whitney says they felt the need to take a more proactive approach.
Should we go ahead and get married? Should we wait? So one random Friday afternoon, we met a judge in Benton and got married legally. We were like, this is not going to be our wedding date. This isn't going to be a day of an anniversary, but this is just going to be a day where we solidified the joy and kind of took ownership of the fear.
That fear of what could happen, even after a decade of marriage equality in the U.S., it's something Professor Silverstein says is not unfounded.
I think that Justice Thomas and Justice Alito would clearly vote to overturn Obergefell as soon as they get the chance to do so. The three liberals on the court definitely would not. What would the remaining four do? It's anybody's guess. But there are already states passing statutes and possibly some litigation that's begun to try to overturn Obergefell just the way they did Roe. So there's tremendous legal uncertainty, and the answer is we just don't know.
So in the meantime, Pride Month marches on, and it's clear that the fight, the riot for equality, is far from over.
Although it is so much fun to celebrate with each other and wear our rainbows and be proud, with the amount of people who are living fearfully, specifically Black and brown trans individuals, we still have so far to go. And that's what a reminder of Pride is.
There's more than just wine and cheese on the menu at this happy hour.
Hi, Tina.
This retirement village is serving up a safe space for people 55 and older who identify as LGBTQ+, like 73-year-old Barb Chase.
I lived my life pretty much in the closet, and I was ready for an experience that was super affirming.
Village Hearth in Durham, North Carolina is one of the nation's first co-housing developments created specifically for an aging queer population. The 28 single-story pastel-colored cottages are individually owned, but connected physically by walking paths and ideologically by acceptance.
As we age, community is one of the most important things to ensure our continued health.
Some 7 million LGBTQ plus Americans will be over age 50 by 2030. Fewer than half of states have laws prohibiting housing discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity, and there is no federal law. That's why Margaret Roche and her wife created Village Hearth more than 5 years ago when they couldn't find somewhere to retire.
I know if we ever ended up in assisted living that we would have had to go back in the closet.
Why not a co-housing community that wasn't LGBTQ plus focused?
Because then you become, oh, that's the gay couple. Look, there's the lesbians.
Patricia Stressler and Tammy Ike moved here from Greensboro, about an hour away, where they lived hiding their relationship.
We're still in that generation where we don't want to make people feel uncomfortable.
Like many gay and lesbian seniors, the couple doesn't have the traditional safety net of adult children for connection and care. With this community comes built-in support from each other.
What does it say about society that you needed to come here to feel safe in 2025?
I think there is a small percentage of people who are very closed-minded. And I think just for day-to-day living, wanting to be comfortable every day, not having to be on guard for anything or anyone.
I feel like we're going backwards. And so I think this type of community is needed more.
For these seniors, trailblazing for decades, a chapter with fewer struggles and more happy hours.
Maybe it's not all that different than golfers moving into a place where golf is the focus.
That's probably very true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aging with pride as retirees embrace their golden years, painting them with shades of the rainbow.
You want to play catch? All right, come here.
For John Permateo, tossing a ball back and forth
You can't stop smiling.
comes with words of encouragement
Oh, happy Pride, kiddo.
and a meaningful hug. These 4 dads are part of the nonprofit Play Catch with a Dad. They came out to Gallagher Way to make the day of anyone they share a past with at the Cubs' annual Pride celebration.
So many people in this community didn't have the support or lost the support of a father when they were younger. I'm Dad.
Nice to meet you.
Each of these fathers, like Kevin Schultz, have their own kids back home.
2 of whom are out and queer, and I know how difficult it can be a journey for lots of people.
John got this idea back in 2019 at an event in Pennsylvania. He says most people walked past him and ignored his sign, except one girl stopped and asked him to play.
Within 2 throws, she was just openly weeping. And I was weeping because I was there for her.
It's that kind of emotion Permateo says he sees others evoke at each event he travels to across the country.
Never in a million years did I dream that we'd be at Wrigley Field in 2025 for Pride Night.
And I wanted to spiral well.
For Marley Perkins, this is a concept she connects with.
When I first walked up and saw this, I was like standing with my girlfriend and our friends, and I started crying because I was like, that's so cute. Like, it's just like really cute for like people who need it.
I think it goes a long ways, you know. When was the last time you had a hug from your dad?
We hold them tight and say, you're a great kid. And boy, everybody wants to hear that sometimes, don't they?
For this one night, each of these fathers are everyone's dads at the Cubs game, giving them the support they need to keep going.
You've probably heard the acronyms LGBT and LGBTQ. Each letter carries a significant meaning, and it keeps changing, so let's break it down. First of all, it's all about inclusion and taking ownership of one's gender and sexual identity. Until around the 1960s, the word gay was used to describe anyone who did not fit into the default societal idea of heteronormativity. The community then started to embrace the gay identity with pride. It's since evolved into more specific words for different identities, like lesbian and bisexual and transgender. In recent years, the Q was added to the acronym to represent people who might not identify as LGBT, and it stands for queer. and sometimes questioning. The Q also acknowledges a fluidity in gender and sexuality. However, it's not used by all members of the LGBT community, since it was once used as a way to put down people. As the acronym continues to evolve, the plus sign was added to acknowledge the limitless sexual and gender identities used by members of the community. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Bottom line, it's all about inclusion and respect.